This is Molly Storm from Stowe, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet for wieners.
Now listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we're into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central show where we talk about only the most elite highline level items in the barbecue and grilling industry. We are currently doing it live right here on a Tuesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. If you missed the first hour, never fear. We are recording for podcast posterity. Hour number 1 will be up in the feed in just a few hours' time. Hour number 2 will be up Thursday, and we'll talk about Friday here in just 1 second. Still to come on the show this evening, Rusty Monson of Salt City Barbecue, and then closing it out, we'll have an open segment where we'll review a little bit of the most recent episode of the Baseball and Barbecue podcast, where Len Hollywood Aberman and Jeff the Old Coot Cohen went out of their way to do a whole episode on why I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. This show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
We say good evening to those of you watching the show tonight through one of the video streaming platforms of Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch over on YouTube /RD Rempe. And now we have an update to the YouTube poll question of the week. Are you planning to build an outdoor kitchen area in 2023, or do you already have one? 71% of you saying no.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Wow, 71%. I thought that was something that was a little bit more on the rise in popularity, or something that folks were really looking to get into, but perhaps we all need to up our game and to associate ourselves with much richer people than we are. If 71% of us are saying no, that we either don't have one and we're not doing one this year, one of two things is going on. We are not hanging around the right people, or two, the economy is tightening up. Well, I can't have that. I have to buy all my frivolous nonsense. I have to keep up with the Joneses. And I can't do that without any money. I had a better YouTube poll question of the week. I thought this one would be a better question, but it's, quite honestly, it's running away with it right now with the no's. So as I was talking about at the close of the first hour and the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and then this guy, one of the guys who I have a big man love with for many years, love him long time, is Ron Happ. You can't read that, but I can. Ron Happ is giving everybody immediately, look, I know Ron on Facebook here, so I know what he's up to. Shenanigans, nonsense, tomfoolery are always afoot when Ron is posting anywhere on social media. Okay, he's a dog. Here's what he wrote, and I can tell you, as soon as I saw the size of this post from the Facebook, I knew one thing: ChatGPT. Ron is an expert at ChatGPT, and here's what he's saying as far as what he's submitting for Barbecue Hall of Fame. Greg Rempe should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame because he is a highly respected figure in the world of barbecue. He's made significant contributions to the industry. As the host of the Barbecue Central Show, a popular radio program that covers all things barbecue, by the way, not a radio program whatsoever, but a podcast, a popular radio program that covers all things barbecue, Greg has interviewed countless pitmasters, competition champions, and industry experts helping to spread knowledge and elevate the craft of barbecue. This is how I know it's ChatGPT. He has also been a strong advocate for the barbecue community, promoting events and initiatives that help support and grow in the industry. In addition, and this is where I know it's a lie. Hold on a second. Lene busted this whole thing for me. By the way, hello, Lene. Good to see you. In addition to his works as a broadcaster and promoter, Greg is an accomplished barbecue cook in his own right. That's right. He has won numerous awards at competitions and is a KCBS certified barbecue judge. No, I'm not.
Get that big stuff out of here.
I am not. He has also served as a judge for the prestigious Jack Daniel's World Championship Invitational Barbecue and the American Royal World Series of Barbecue. No, I haven't. Overall, which he must have changed, because usually this is where it says in conclusion, which is when you know it's a ChatGPT product. Overall, Greg Rempe's passion, knowledge, and contribution to the barbecue community make him a deserving candidate for the Barbecue Hall of Fame. If you're going to take the easy way out and copy and paste what Ron has put up for everyone on the Facebook part of this to see, because there's no way you're going to be able to copy and paste what you see written on the... Nobody can read that. I just got rid of it. You have to take out the stuff that's wrong. I'm not a broadcaster. I'm a podcaster. I am an accomplished barbecue cook in my own right, but I don't compete. I'm just pretty good at it. Around the backyard, the king of the cul-de-sac, whatever you want to call it. King in the castle, king in the castle.
King in the castle, king in the castle.
I am not, nor have I ever been, a certified barbecue judge for the KCBS. I have never once judged at the prestigious Jack Daniel's World Championship Invitational Barbecue. I have never judged at the American Royal World Series of Barbecue. Never. So if you're going to copy and paste, delete all that because it's a lie. It's not true. I'm not even purporting that that's even close. It's straight up not fact. It's not true. It's
Andy,
not.
You are not the father.
You're not the father. Ron, you are not the father of me, and you will edit prior to nominating. So anyway, if you're going to take the easy way out, edit first. Edit the fakes. The barbecue show saying fake it till you make it. I can't do that.
Get that big stuff out of here.
I can't say that I was a judge at the Royal, which does, I believe, need KCBS judges. I'm not. I'm not even a KCBS member. I think you have to be a member to be a judge. Not to be a cook, but to be a judge, I think you have to be a KCBS member. And I've never judged the Jack Daniels, ever. I've never even been invited and then declined. Don't put that in there if you're going to do that. Don't lie. Only tell the truth, please. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, this coming Friday, episode 277, taking you back to April 12th of 2016. And by the way, if you're a true fan of this show and the Best Moments show specifically, you would know that the date mentioned this week is also the date that gave you episode 276 with Max Good. But this time around, I had long-time standing sponsor of the show, Chris Becker from Cookin' Pellets on, and we were talking about how they had recently started landing their wood pellet shipments across the globe in foreign lands. For instance, Hong Kong. Anyone ever heard of Australia? Yeah. How about a place like Guam? Foreign lands. And everywhere like such as. I know there's one person that gets that reference. Same guy doing ChatGPT. So, if you are a fan of Cookin' Pellets, and who isn't, then this is a segment you will most certainly want to take in this coming Friday. Chris Becker is such a wealth of information when it comes to the pellet side of the business because, well, that's his business. But you do have to be subscribed to the podcast feed in order to get the Best Moments show, so don't forget to do that. And if you want to hear a past guest or segment that you think has been lost in the archives, please email John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com. Let him know what you would like to hear, and he'll do his best to meet your expectation. That's Jon at thebbqcentralshow.com. Email from James in Kansas. Greg, I have been a fan of your show for about a year or so. I really enjoy all the content, but really love the segments with my favorite YouTube cook, Sam the Cooking Guy. What are the chances of you and him going outside of your sandboxes? What are the chances of you going outside of your sandboxes and doing a podcast together? I think the banter you share back and forth would lead to an incredibly popular podcast in its own right, perhaps bigger than your current independent projects. Just a thought. Love the show. Regard, James. James?
Get that freak stuff out of here.
If I've said it once in this show, I've said it again in the second hour. You're not the first one to mention it. You won't be the last one to mention it. It's not happening. I don't want to be not happening guy. What I want to say is there is a very real possibility that will never happen. The only way that this potentially can even get off the ground is Sam lobbing me a phoner and saying, this is something we have to do. And then from there, it's going to take a number of conversations to even vet out if it's something that can actually sustain itself. Because what am I not going to do? Get all excited because of somebody famous that I'm going to do a podcast with and then not be able to sustain it. It's going to have to go at least as long as this show goes. That's 17 years. I'm not going to do something and then stop it after 6 months. I have too much of a reputation to uphold. So if anybody wants to start a podcast with me, know this. We have to do it for at least 15 years. That's the barrier to entry. That's the standard. Just think about that next time you want to jump into a podcast. Did I read all those already? Let me talk to you about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue. A curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers, Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. Of course, we know about the 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and seasonings, popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Double Secret Steak Rub, which is two of my favorites. They also own Granny's barbecue sauce, so if you're sick of what's currently out there or you want to try something that's great right out of the bottle, Granny's barbecue sauce, try that. Aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, Big Papa Smoker is offering the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa's the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. If you're not a fan of pellet smokers or you're not sure of what grill you need, call them and ask questions. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with my pal Rusty Monson right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
We are back. My first guest in the second hour this evening, a Barbecue Central Show embedded correspondent, a championship award-winning pitmaster, the co-host of the Pitmasters podcast, also owner-operator of the Salt City Barbecue Trailer that we have been following over the last year plus now as we bring him back in for another 90-day update. It's Rusty Monson. First check-in of 2023, pal. And by the way, what a dynamic-looking microphone that you have there. Man.
Oh, this whole thing? How does it sound?
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good.
All right.
Sure,
Well, that's good.
The Shure SM7B, aside from the one that I have, which is the Electrovoice RE20, you have the second most broadcast standard microphone that you can get.
I did it because Michael Jackson had one. So that's the reason I got it.
He had an SM7B.
That's what he did all of the Thriller and stuff on. So
I didn't know that.
I just wanted to sing like Michael Jackson. So if we ever did the singing again, I had a head start. So
all right. Well, I see you gearing up for a run at Barbecue Central Show's American Idol, which is a little bit in jeopardy, but we're not going to talk about it here this evening. Not that you're too worried about that, I can see. First check-in of 2023, Rusty. Last time you were on, you had mentioned the hiring of someone that you were able to trust, help you run operations, as it were, and allow you some ability to do things outside of operating solely yourself at events. 90 days later, has anything changed on that front for better or worse?
Yeah, we've hired a whole staff of people now. So I not only have my main guy, but I have another main guy that's his main guy.
Wow.
Then we have someone coming back who will be the main girl. So we have 3 people that are able to load the truck up, get prep ready, and do the meats. And then I have 4 to 5 people who can run the truck. So though I do operations and I'm there all the time, it's getting to the point now where I don't have to be. But then it's funny because when you're like, oh, we're staffed, you can stay at home. Then you're like, well, what I could do is do 2 things on Tuesday and 2 things on Wednesday instead of 1. So then, you get busy. It's funny. When you staff, you think it'll be easier, but it's so far the same because we're busier, because we can handle more events, bigger events.
So you have, I'm throwing out terms to help me remember this. You have 4 managers, but then you have an additional 4 or 5 workers?
Yeah, I got 3
Holy
people,
crap.
2.5 people right now. She's in Colorado, our other girl, and she'll be back in about a week or 2. But so those 3 people can handle the setup and the prep and the meat cooking and all that stuff. Jared still does the majority of it because he's better at it than them, but we do have those 2 people coming up and learning and knowing that stuff. And then we have Katie, Emery, Mika, Tristan, people who are rock stars that run the truck with me when I'm on the truck. And then we have our conventions, which we kind of split into. We have a convention team and then a truck team right now.
Any other big issues that have come up over the last 90 days that you've had to contend with?
Yeah, the conventions. So we, the advice you get when you're a food truck is it's winter time. Take it easy. Take a break. You busted your ass all summer, and this is the time to kind of like rest your bones and do anything you need to do on the back end and whatever. And so we had signed a contract with what's called Centerplate, and they do convention centers such as the Salt Palace here and the Mountain America Expo Center. And we did a couple things for them. They were busy. And then I didn't realize in winter that they do something every single week. We had what was called the Hunters Expo here. And we're just kind of feeling out. It's our first time doing it. And we sold $53,000 in 4 days. And we had 2 locations in the Salt Palace getting just absolutely rocked. So the problem really is that we're doing these huge events right now. And we did our best months, January and February, our busiest months ever because of these conventions. Plus we do catering outside of that. So the challenge is like I said, once you hire people, you're like, okay, let's do more. And more turns into a different way of running things and mapping things out. Before you're like, okay, let's cook 3 briskets, 2 pork butts. Let's go to this park and that's where they want us. And we'll just take 2 or 3 people. We're fine. Now we're like, I don't know how big this is going to be. Let's cook 24 pork butts and 25 briskets and, keep that smoker going. And let's take 6 to 7 people here. We did the NBA All-Star came through here. We did that. We were in part of that event. And it's just been nonstop. In fact, we're right now in the middle of a volleyball tournament here in Salt Lake, where it's just the whole entire Salt Palace, which is gargantuan center, is just full of people, and we're just getting hammered. And the funny part is, it's a volleyball tournament, so of course we have to make nachos, brisket, and dodge volleyballs constantly. So it's like this. It's getting bigger. There's a lot of big events, and it's been an interesting challenge to manage serving 400 to 500 people a day. Tomorrow we have a 400 person thing throughout the day where we'll be feeding 400 people. So we're moving into this stage of just large events, and it's very challenging to pull off. I've gotten lucky, and we've been able to do it, and manage that is been very challenging.
When you are at these facilities, are you inside or are people going outside?
Some of them we actually bring the trailer inside.
Oh.
Other times they put us in our own little kiosk. They're actually making us a kiosk there. It's not the convention center, hopefully sooner than later. Or we have a booth set up. With the Hunters convention, we had our trailer there and a booth set up on two different ends. And then this one, we have a kiosk where we're inside of a place. And then we'll also have a tent set up somewhere else. So it's kind of how that goes when it gets really, really busy. So we'll be in two different spots. And when we're inside those convention centers, the trailer sometimes is out somewhere else. So like this weekend, we do morning and night events with the trailer, and we'll be at that volleyball thing in the Salt Palace too, all at the same time. So we'll be at 3 different events in the same day.
So 3 points of sale contact, basically.
Yeah. And that's been, that's why you have to get more people. And it's funny that more people come and you think it'd be easier. That's what I'm saying. Then you're like, oh yeah, let's do conventions now. Oh, let's double down on this day. Oh, let's be 4 places at once. Yay. So
let's talk about a business question, and then let's talk about your thoughts on an operational question. Getting big events. As somebody who is newish at this, you're going, into a year at this point, year plus. How are you getting big events? Who are you talking to? How are you making those relationships? And then how are you closing those deals?
We just, on these ones, we did USANA. We're actually going back to USANA Amphitheater, which is a big concert venue. We'll be doing like Sting, Foo Fighters, Luke Bryant, Jelly Roll, things like that. They just reached out to us. They had the food and liked it, wanted to see if we wanted to come. That was the same with the Salt Palace. The head chef, Cheeto, over there, had our food somewhere. His name's Cheeto. And so he just got a hold of his guy. His guy called us, and then he had to go try out. It was kind of lucky. But I will say, from looking at it now, if I wasn't, I can see it from a different perspective now. For example, I would love to get at the University of Utah events for the football games and things like that. So now I know if I reach out to their food and beverage guy and say, hey, listen, I'm a food truck. This is the volume we're doing. We're very, very prepared for what you guys do. We're professionals. We know what's going on. Consider us. And so now I'm reaching out to the food and beverage directors of these companies, these expo centers, these convention centers, whatever they are, concert halls, and universities. And sometimes you don't hear back. Sometimes you do. The university guy and another guy who does all the state fair stuff hasn't got back to me, but you get back into doing the conventions and they'll call you all of a sudden randomly. And all of a sudden, this is what happened to us with the expo center down over this one, is all of a sudden like, hey, you want to start doing this? Like, yeah, cool. Start next week. I'm like, shoot, there's not a lot of lead up time. So they will get back to you, even though sometimes it's not right away. So
do you ever invite them out and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so food and beverage guy, we're going to be, would love to be at University of Utah. Why not shoot over to the Salt Palace and try some of our food so you can be wowed?
Yes. I will always find a time where we are near them and say, this is our location. Come check us out. Crickets. But still, hey, 3 weeks later, hey, man, we're going to be just literally across the street from you guys. In the next couple of days, you should come out and give us a shot and we can chat. And so that's the best way to do it, because they always need someone and people will drop out, or, they're on a contract thing. Some of these vendors that we have dealt with in these huge events, they just can't hang out. They just can't hang. So they'll go, they'll vet them out and they'll leave or whatever it is. So they'll always opening. So just keep at them. Just, if you want to just pop in every few months and say, hey, I'm still interested.
You see your team executing at what I assume is a pretty high level at these really big events. They could be overwhelming to some others. So what makes a good food truck good? What makes a bad food truck bad as far as experience and not being able to handle these type of situations?
A lot of times, I think a pitfall with big events is that food trucks will cheap out. They'll say, okay, we need to just sell food fast, get as many people fed as we can. There's a taco place that's very big here, and you don't see them around very much. And when we would go out to big events with them, we would have their food, and it was awful. And they're going to feed up to 1,000 people. And their thought process was, let's just bust it out, let's get it out, and let's serve as many people as we can. Our thought process and the good food trucks are, you have to be, we look at these events almost like we need to impress and do better quality wise than any other time. More people are coming to our truck, and we are out in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every day. If we serve crappy food just so we can sell it and get it out quick, no one's going to want to come eat at our food. I cannot tell you how many people, caterers, weddings, people that come out to our food truck. We would say, oh man, like just yesterday, we've been waiting this since the home show at the Expo Center. We found out we have people now paying to get into expos to have our food. They pay the $35.
They're not going for the event. They're coming to eat.
Straight up eat. And I tell them, so we had this happen twice, one at this volleyball event and the one before. And we're like, give us a call. We'll run it out to you. And keep in mind, we have to charge $35 more for this food because that's what they charge us at these convention centers. So it's more expensive, but these people don't care. And that's the concept, is that then you have other food, like one of the people who probably won't be another vendor there. Their food is, I've had it outside of it, and it's good. Inside of this venue, it's not good. And they're not trying hard. They're more scared about the volume. And if you can't produce the best, you should be cooking the best food you can, because you're going to be in front of like hundreds and hundreds of people. You need to impress these guys. These guys will want to find you when you're out of there. They don't know that our food's cheaper outside of this. And they're still finding us because the food is quality, and we don't skimp, and we do it quickly.
Or they might want to hire you, right? Like outside of the volleyball contest, maybe somebody's got graduating this year and they want Salt City BBQ to cater their graduation party.
There's not a day that goes by where I don't have 3 to 4 people reaching out to me about caterings, about weddings, about family reunions, about a guy just wanted us to come to his neighborhood yesterday. And all these people start with, oh, we had you at Pinners Conference. Oh, we had you at the Hunters Expo. We had you at the home show. We had you at the tattoo convention. And so that's what I'm saying, is like, I look at it as a great opportunity to put your best foot forward and get as many people as possible to try your food. And that's what you need to look at it as. Not, I need to serve these people and make a whole lot of money, because you won't last long. And nothing, I've said this 100 times before, probably said it on this show, but nothing fails bad business like good advertising. So you don't want to put bad food in front of people's face at that kind of scale. And so many people do it. And it helps us, to be honest. You know what? If you want to suck at a convention we're at, great, because we'll take advantage of it.
When we're talking about the sheer amount of food that you're putting out in something like this, as you said, the bad ones are just pushing it out to try and make as much money as possible. Is there some correlation to you taking time and not getting the same margin?
What do you mean, us taking time?
To me, it sounds like you're taking your time, you're putting together the food right, and as you said, you're putting your best foot forward. The taco place next to you sounds like they're just slinging it out as fast as they can and trying to sell as much as possible. So maybe you're not moving the same type of tickets, but margin for margin, yours isn't any more or less than what theirs is, right?
Yeah, and one of these, that used to be one of the vendors there, outside they made all their food fresh, inside they bought it, and it was all pre-made. And so they just caught it there and put it together and sent it out, and it just was not a good product. And so, yeah, of course, we take the time. I spend $162 on a case of cheese, and that is double what anyone else is spending on cheese. And again, we make our prices accordingly, and people expect to pay more. We put 35% on top of what we're already charging, which is a lot of money. People still buy it. But the thing is, you know, they'll eat that food. This happens all the time. Friday, we'll go there. They'll have X. They'll have that guy's, right? And then their friend will have ours. And then all 3 of them will come back to us on Saturday. Oh, we had your food, and we had so-and-so. Oh, man, they're this and this and this. And there's another person there that kills it, too. They do a fantastic job, but their food is not as popular. And it's just every weekend they get busier as it goes on because people try it. They know they could do a good job. The food's better. And they want to come back and eat it, you know, because these conventions, a lot of these people come back and back all the time, or at these concerts. People come to these concerts often. They're not just one band they like. So they'll remember you next time. And if you don't impress them, they won't come back to you, and you'll wonder why. and this sucks. This event sucks, blah, 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 blah. It's because you're not trying hard.
Rust-
And you need to put the time in.
Rusty Monson joining us here from Salt City Barbecue. SaltCityBBQ.co is the website if you want to check Rusty out, see where the schedule is and where he might be popping up next. Leading the team here, Rusty. I mean, I affectionately refer to you as Mr. Positivity on the show when we're doing embedded correspondence. But how are you finding it leading a team? It's always a bit different when you are the sole proprietor. You're really the one busting it out and doing all the labor. But now you have, 3 other managerial types underneath you. You have 4 or 5 workers beneath them. So there's a multitude of things that you have to be doing from a managerial standpoint to keep everybody motivated and seeing your vision and believing it. And how are you doing that?
You just want to make it to be the best place to come to work. You want them to have fun. All the time people say, I love coming to work on the truck. It's so much fun. And that takes a lot of effort, whether that be you have to make someone want to do the job, and you got to just take care of them. You got to love them. If they're having troubles outside, work with them, their schedule, work with them. When you get there, hey, how's it going, man? Talk to them about what's going on. Be interested in them and what they have to say, and just be a good friend to them. And, and sell the food, and it gets busy and things get crazy, but then it's always just like, hey, like the other day, Riley, he kind of came on and he just killed it. And all I could do at the end is like, man, you just did such a great job. Good job. Thank you so much. You're so good about getting that food out quick and making sure that it was quality food and all that stuff. And I was always just, encouraging him, making sure that he knew that he did a good job. And, you get to, and like I said, you want to get to know them, and you want to work with them and understand that jobs are, you have to do the job, you have to get it done, but it's not the only thing that they do. Quality of life is really, really important. And you have to find that balance of they feel respected, they feel like their quality of life is being taken seriously, but they're still getting the hours that they want. They're still getting the pay they want. I don't do anything without covering it with them first. Before, we did tips and we used to split them throughout the shift. And I wanted to do a different way to make it fair for people who are doing prep. And then we just kind of all got together and made the decision of we should pool tips. Though I induced the idea, it was them who came up, who, of course, put in the input and did all that stuff. And you another thing you want to do is involve them in the process too. Give them a say, because they're the ones doing the work and they know more than you. Even though you're there all the time, they see it from a different perspective. You own it. You're excited. You want to be there every day. You're making money. They are just doing a job for you. So how do they feel about it? How do they feel about working from 8 to 8 at a convention where you're serving like 700 people? Do they want to break it up? Do they want, or how's it about this process? Riley, what do you think about this? Do you think we're doing this right? And then they feel empowered. They feel like they're a part of it, and they feel like they have a say. And when they feel like they have a say, they feel like, that they are Salt Lakes, that's Salt City. When they say we serve ribs, and they involve themselves in the process is, I think, part of loving your job.
Are you ever overcome with anxiety, or do you feel a pressure on you as the leader here to make sure that everybody is getting hours, getting paid, able to have whatever type of life they're trying to lead under the responsibility of Salt City Barbecue?
Yeah, it's the worst. When I first hired Jared and he left, I realized driving home, I realized, like, man, I'm in charge of this man's livelihood. If I don't give him the right amount of money and I don't pay him a certain amount, he's got bills to pay. He's got a life to live. And people come on with kids. You're like, man, these guys have kids. Like, I have to provide a life for this family. And it's such a trip. But yeah, giving people hours, and that's the hardest part, is you don't want to hire too many people, especially on a food truck, because everything's so variable. We'll have a great week and we'll be busy from Sunday to Sunday, but then other times we're not. And it's trying to get creative and give these guys what they want. And I'll say, hey, it's a short week, guys. Who wants some time off? Who wants to do this? And yeah, you have to manage that and make sure that they get what they want, but also get paid. And you have to understand that sometimes when you've been busy and you understand that you kind of have to help them, they say, oh no, it's cool. Give me 4 days off. I'm like, yeah, but last time you did that, you were hurting real bad. So how about we have you go clean the pit out on Thursday and do this and this and this, and just get a few hours in so you can, have a little beefier chicken. But it's balancing that's is a big challenge, especially when it gets a little slower, which hasn't happened yet, thank God. But there are times, and there will be times.
Food costs in 2023 so far?
Food costs in 2023 are higher than I want them to be. We had nachos, which are a pretty high food cost. I was hoping to make other items that would connect that, that down a little bit and make it so. For example, we have nachos. We're running a 35% food cost. However, we look at this little pork sandwich. It's fantastic. It's a 20% food cost. Eat this, or sausage, which is a 7% food cost. And no one would. They just wanted the nachos all the time. And so we had to break up a lot of things where we had an offered a small version now to a large version, which helps offset that. We used to put beans and coleslaw on it. Now that's a loaded option for $4 more. Then with ribs, we were able to make rib tips as a special. So that helps offset the cost. We trim our own ribs down to St. Louis and then cook rib tips, things like that. But we're running still around 33%, which is about 8% more than I want to be running. So there's a few things we need to dial in as far as that goes, but it's mostly things like I won't give up, like that cheese again went up $15 a case. Pork brisket still meh. Ribs are coming down, and so is porks. We're trying to push all that stuff, but we're still around 33%.
What's the profit like in the company right now?
I think I'm taking home about, if I had to stretch it out a whole year, I think I'm taking home about 8 to 9%, which is pretty good. That's, I think, a pretty decent margin right now. It's funny because one thing I didn't have my hands on was labor. And I was just kind of scheduling people like, yeah, let's have 4 people work this and 3 people work this and blah, 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 blah. And then I got this new scheduling program where I can put in the sales and the hours and it gives me labor. My labor was running 40%, which you want it to be in the 30s, but I can run it in the 20s, low 20s, high teens. And so since I've implemented that, I've saved a lot of money by scheduling accordingly, by not putting so many people on some, just being smarter about scheduling. And so, and we all of those big problems that we had have been paid for on the trailer, the broken this and broken that, and we need this and we need that. So I'm hoping this year with labor dialed in, getting those food costs down below around 25% and keeping labor around, I'm just going to say 25%, which is still a little high for me. I could bust out more of a 15% take home next year, which would be great. We're booking, we're on our way. Our goal is $500,000 this year, and we're well on our way. Wow. So we've already got it to, we're almost to 180,000 since January. So
I asked you at the end of 2022 if this journey is worth it, and you said yes. Does it get easier the more you're with it or the longer you're at it?
It's gotten easier than it gets, there's always a challenge. Like I said before, we got into a rhythm of doing what we were doing, which was lunches, some catering, and some dinner events. And then you throw the conventions in, and it became a big challenge, and we figured that out. But then we got cocky and was like, well, if we're at the tattoo convention, we can also have the trailer over here. So now we're in different spots, different places, and the logistics again become a challenge. But once we staff that out, everyone understands the role, what's going to happen, which we're kind of coming into right now. Then it becomes easy again. I'm sure there'll be something else. What I want to do is buy another truck as soon as I can. So then you'll have to manage the conventions, the trailer, and the truck. And there's always going to be something, man. You're always having to push the envelope a little bit, so.
We had also talked last year about the potential of investors and getting into a brick and mortar location. Where's that right now?
Our investors, I'm kind of not going to do. I've decided.
Oh!
I had someone. We had someone right on the fence offering us money, the whole 9 yards. I'm not going to say I chickened out. I wasn't ready for it, and I'm glad I didn't, because what happened was, long story short, our smoker is taking up a lot of space in our commissary, and the lady who owns it asked us to move it. And the way she put it, said she kind of wanted us to move out of the commissary. And so I got scared. I called my realtor friend who does commercial real estate, and I said, hey, get me into a place. I was thinking I can get into a restaurant and just use it as a commissary and build it out as a restaurant. He's like, sure, man. He sends me all these things. And the average rent is $13,000 a month. Whoa. And that's at a really crappy place.
Wow.
And so I was like, no. And then I went to a restaurant the day after on a Friday night, and it was a great restaurant. I love it. And there was no one there. And I was like, man, if I was paying $13,000 a month for this place, some asshole who invested in me is breathing down my neck because we're not busy yet. I couldn't handle that. So I went back and I'm like, you know what? We're a food truck until we are so popular, we cannot not have a restaurant.
Yeah.
And that way, when we pull up and we open that thing, people are like, oh, hell yeah. Finally, Salt City BBQ has a restaurant. Let's go. Right now, we're not there. So I will not pay $15,000, whatever. I'm going to have 2 trucks, maybe 3. We might look into our own commercial kitchen. But right now, even if some investor comes to me, I'm going to do it by myself. I think we can raise enough capital to do it alone. And it'd be easy transition, I think, from doing what we do now to going to restaurants, simply because, one, me and Jared both have the experience. We've both run restaurants. And it's not going to be much different to move our food into a counter space. So I think we can do it alone. And I don't want an investor. And I really want to avoid the bank. So that's the goal. Go the Dave Ramsey route, I guess, is how you would say it.
What's the biggest goal over the next 90 days?
The next 90 days is going to be dial in more of, so when you step back a little bit and you have people helping you realize things like the labor situation where they're not working, I want to be able to write down everything we pay for and do labor-wise, food cost-wise, gas-wise. And I want to start dialing in things that, so how much does it cost us to go out every day? So if I go to lunch tomorrow, considering all my payments, my commissary, you name it, what is it that I would have to make that day to make a profit? I need to figure that out. And I need to start dialing those things in and walking things back and coming up with a better catering option. And right now we're kind of willy-nilly going out. Someone's like, hey, come do my party. I'm like, sure, buddy, we'll be there. Now we need to look in, like I said, how much is it going to cost us to go out there and how much, and I want to guarantee. So we need to start doing stuff like that. I think more business stuff, not so much get the food out. Let's get this, let's get the, whatever. And then I need to dial back labor and percentages. And I need to really focus in on costs and get that under control and understand every single penny, because I'm not quite there yet. So that's my goal.
Should you hire somebody to do that? Is that a better option?
Yes, I want to do it first so I understand it. I don't want them to go, yeah, your profit's this. And me going, great, thanks, Jim. I want to be able to, your profit's this, and look at it and go, I've done this a little bit. I can understand these numbers. So yeah, cool, we're good. And then now you can do it. But yes, the goal would be for me to figure it out and turn it over to somebody else.
Anything else coming up that we should know about before I let you go tonight?
If you're interested in doing any kind of food truck, I will be doing a podcast. Name is still in the air. We're still trying to figure that out, but we'll be doing that, starting that, hopefully getting that rolling in the next few weeks. Hopefully I can convince you not to do it. And if you're crazy enough to do it, hopefully I can help you. And we will have guests on that will help you, teach me. I'm doing it as a selfish purpose because I want to learn. I want to be able to talk to a bunch of food truck operators and get better at what I do. And you also can learn how to do that too. Hopefully that's the goal, and hopefully inspire you to do it, and hopefully inspire you not to do it if you're thinking you want to be cool and that's all you want to do.
This is the pitmaster of Salt City BBQ, Rusty Monson, the Utah embedded correspondent as well. And we'll see Rusty here in a couple weeks doing his fourth Tuesday of the month thing with Doug and John. You can find his website at saltcitybbq.co. Rusty, always appreciate the time, and we will check in with you on this end of it in 90 days.
Ooh, thanks, Greg. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. It's Rusty, the pitmaster of positivity, Rusty Monson from Salt City BBQ. saltcitybbq.co is the website. .co, not com. saltcitybbq.co, which I think is company. I don't know. But it's .co, not .com. So extensive check-in with Rusty there. We were a little over the 90 days from last time, but now we're all caught up, and we'll see if his goals are reached in the new 90, and we'll track them back as we enter July. That'll be 3 months from now, if you can believe it. July 11th, which is one day off of the best day ever. Why is that? I don't know. You tell me. All right, we are going to do one more quick segment here, and then we'll call it an evening. You are listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we welcome you back and thank Rusty Monson for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories to complete your pit barrel cooking experience. Whether you're beginner or professional, doesn't matter. Definitely cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. So I want to close out here this evening and spend a little time thanking those who were a part of the Baseball and Barbecue podcast ode to Greg Rempe and the Barbecue Central Show and why I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. There are a few times when I am humbled to the core, but one of those times occurred at the end of last week as I am a subscriber to the Baseball and Barbecue podcast, and it showed up that there was a new episode. I didn't really pay too much attention to the write-up or anything. I just got into the show, and here it was, a whole episode, an hour plus of why I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. And not only was it the hosts, Len Aberman and Jeff Cohen, or Jeff Cohen and Len Aberman, making sure that I'm giving equal due first and last. But these guys have been doing this show for 5 years or however long it is, much longer than most podcasts even live these days. A lot of people got into them over the pandemic, and as soon as the pandemic ended, boom, so did their podcasts. I saw it happen to multitude. Some of them were really good, and I was scared as they were coming out because the content was so good. Where was the show going to go as things started to renormalize again and you could get out and not have to stay at home, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of those shows evaporated, unfortunately, which is painful to me because I enjoyed listening to them. But Baseball and Barbecue is one of those shows that have really cemented its place in the podcast landscape at this point. I mean, if you've made it 2-3 years in, especially into the 5-year plus category, you are one of the true podcasters. You've figured out a recipe for success. You've figured out that consistency is the key. In fact, Baseball and Barbecue has upped their output. Originally, they were every other week or something like that, and now they're pumping out episodes every week. And most of the time, it splits time between the topics, Baseball and Barbecue. Sometimes it's a little bit more of one than the other. But again, I'm a fan of both Baseball and Barbecue, so whether it's a little bit more baseball focused or a little bit more barbecue focused doesn't really matter to me. The content's always good. The interviews on the baseball side are really great. And if you like Doug Scheiding, he sits in on most of those barbecue side of the interview of Baseball and Barbecue and helps those guys weave their way through some of the barbecue questions. So if you like Doug, the Texas embedded correspondent here on this show, he does show up quite a bit as a co-host there on the Baseball and Barbecue side of things. They had 10 guests, which had to have been done over months as you go back through and listen to all the guests that they have had on their show, but who showed up for this particular show in particular. So they must have been doing an interview with, first off the bat was Malcolm Reed. So they must have been talking with Malcolm or interviewed Malcolm and then held him off in separate time and said, okay, we're done with our show. But are you open to talking about this particular idea that we have? We're putting together a separate show, and would you spend a few minutes talking about Greg Rempe and the Barbecue Central Show, why you think he should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, if you do? And they were able to amass 10 folks Some of them who I know very well. Some of them are casual or cursory in this whole live fire scene. And they are as follows, as I just mentioned. Number one, probably the most popular face in barbecue today, Malcolm Reed. Gave his reasons on why I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. Then number two, maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. If you're a fan of this show, you have heard of him because he's been on this show a couple times. The creator of Smoking Hot Confessions, Ben Arnott. Smoking Hot Confessions did win, I believe, Podcast of the Year through NBBQA 2 years in a row, was it, Ben? And really covers the Australian barbecue scene like nobody else. I don't even know if there is anybody else that's covering the Australian barbecue scene like Ben is. He is a trailblazer in his own right in that country and is doing a fine job. Again, somebody who has not succumbed to pod fade or didn't develop something that was consistent enough to repeat and get success. He has. And Ben's show is really good. And it gives you a unique perspective on both how American barbecue has influenced other countries. And Ben has picked that ball up and rolled with it, turned it into a whole career. He is a teacher still, I think. But fun fact about Ben, I think he's a black belt in some kind of martial arts. So never F with him. He will kill you.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Let me rephrase that. If put in a situation where either you died or he died, he could kill you better than you could kill him. I would say that. But he's not that kind of a guy. He's way more chill, but I would not test anybody that's got that level. I'm not here to test anybody. As I've stated many times, I'm a very quick sprinter. And by the way, my top end can go over a long distance. So I am not afraid to run away from a fight, and I can run really far away from a fight for a long time. So let's keep that on the table as well. But Ben Arnott was on that show talking about why I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. Very humbling to hear his thoughts about me. And then somebody who's been on the show as a one-time interviewer so far, but she's created an incredible business all on her own there. From Girls Can Grill, Christy Vanover, successful competition cook, seller of rubs, very successful blogger, the whole deal. She was on talking about why I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and very humbled to hear her thoughts on how she found the show, how she has used it over the years of doing it to up her barbecue and grilling game. And then two guys who I really look up to as far as journalism is concerned, creators of The Smoke Sheet, Sean Ludwig and Ryan Cooper. As we talked about with Meathead in the first hour, Sean's actually somebody I met in person, traveled to Cleveland by choice, if you can believe it. Traveled here by choice. Went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, did the whole deal, said, hey, are you available for lunch? We went to Mabel's on 4th Street, had a great barbecue lunch together, so I was able to meet Sean and talk to him. He's a big food guy. He had like the spotlight that looks like a cell phone when he was taking pictures, so he's always ready to take pictures either for self-pleasure or for, did I say self-pleasure? That sounds weird out loud. Or for the Smoke Sheet. And Ryan Cooper was also part of that conversation. So, gentlemen, appreciate you taking a few moments and talking about the show and the Barbecue Hall of Fame. And then somebody who might be the longest listener to the show ever. Ron, I hate to say it because I know you've been a long-time listener as well, but I think I'm pretty safe in saying if it's not this guy, then it's probably Phil White from Huntsville, Alabama. But I think it might be this guy. You know him on the Twitter as Michael Savino. Boys had him on. Michael Savino, longtime fan of me. Here's a fun fact. Michael Savino's listened to the show forever. And then here I have Jeff Cohen. Well, who's Jeff Cohen to Michael Savino? Who would know? Well, except Michael is married to Jeff's sister, and he never knew that he was a fan of the Barbecue Central show or that I knew baseball and barbecue. We all found out through third parties, if you can believe. Here's Michael, related, a fan of Barbecue Central, had no idea that the guys from Baseball and Barbecue Central even knew each other, were talking, had a synergy going on. I think that's a hot button term. But Michael talked at length about how I have dominated this particular scene and really helped him up his barbecue game, but also provided education, entertainment, all that fun stuff. And then my last guest, Rusty Monson, was on, so we thank Rusty. And then after Rusty, it was the executive producer of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 Minutes or Less, John Solberg, the best moments of. And then after John Solberg, it was Doug Scheiding, the cavalcade of embedded correspondents. So I certainly appreciate them taking their own time, being interviewed, talking about the show, and then rolling it and closing it at the end, none other than my first segment guest here this evening in the first hour, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. So look, I want to thank everybody that was part of that show. I want to thank Jeff and Len for doing the show. There's certainly something that they didn't have to do. And I would love to say this. I enjoyed getting the Barbecue Hall of Fame to where it is today. I believe it was my incessant pounding on transparency, on process, on how people are being put in, because before the incessant pounding took place, we had no idea how it was going. We have no idea how people were getting put in, how votes were being cast, who was even being considered, how considerations were even happening, and who ended up making it into the class that year. But then the pounding took place. Incessantly, relentlessly, and then Emily Park showed up, and now 5 years later, everything is above board. Whether you like it or not, as far as who the 9 finalists are, who ends up getting into the Barbecue Hall of Fame, you can't say that it's not transparent. You see the 9 finalists, you see who goes in. The only thing else that they need to reveal, which they might at some point, is who's in the nomination tank, who's in the big holding tank. How many times was I voted for? How many times was somebody else voted for? That's the only thing left. I don't even know if they really need to open that up or not. I mean, you know who you're nominating if you're nominating, so it only takes one person to nominate somebody for consideration. So that was my only goal in starting all of this. And then after the fact, yes, if you don't know the show, we love to be a little fun. We love to be a lot of tongue-in-cheek. We love to be very sarcastic. We love all of this stuff. But in the end, my only goal for the Barbecue Hall of Fame was to make sure that it was being done right, that it was being transparent, and then it was being done legitimately. And all of those criteria are met now, whether you agree with it or not. And that's the bottom line. So the fact that Jeff and Len, and then Malcolm, Ben, Christy, Sean, Ryan, Mike, Rusty, John, Doug, Meathead all showed on the Baseball and Barbecue podcast to give their thoughts on why I should be in. Very heartwarming, very humbling, and I thank everybody for doing it. If you haven't listened to it, please go ahead. If it inspires you to nominate, please go ahead and nominate. If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Get that big stuff out of here.
But you know damn well, you want to hear me get in, because the first thing I'm doing at the podium is talking about how we have to get rid of Guy Fieri out of the Barbecue Hall of Fame. It can't happen. You know you want to see it. It's my pledge to you, which means I'm never getting into the Barbecue Hall of Fame because everybody else listens to it too in the nominating committee. I'm just kidding, names nominating committee. I would never do that. Hey, let's get out of here because I've almost run overtime. All the way back in the first hour was Meathead. Then it was Robert Moss. Then we went in depth with Rusty Monson for a quarterly visit, and then we closed it out with an ode of my own to the Baseball and Barbecue podcast. Len Hollywood Aberman and Jeff the Old Coot Cohen, who did an ode to Greg Rempe in the Barbecue Central Show and why I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. Guys, mucho apreciado. Mucho, my friends, mucho. Big show planned for you next week. It's week 3, so we may or may not have a Steven Reichland sighting. There's promises of a Jess Pryles sighting as well, amongst others. So stay tuned for that. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Hi, this is Sylvie Curry from Ramona, California, and I'm listening to the Barbecue Central Show.